Marshall, why is business leadership important, and is it especially important in today's business and economic climate?
Well, today, people that I work with manage people called knowledge workers. A knowledge worker knows more about what they're doing than their bosses. In an old world where the boss knew everything, it could tell people what to do and how to do it, much more of a stable environment, leadership of people wasn't as critical as it is today. Today, in a rapidly changing world, people know more than their boss. The boss has to listen, learn, get people involved.
Why is it important for business leaders to learn to be good leaders? Surely they're already good leaders if they've got to where they are.
Well, if you look at the people I've coached many of the most important leaders in the world. And these are all people who are good leaders to start with. My job is helping already successful leaders get even better, not fixing hopeless losers. So what I do is I work with people who are very successful and they're always trying to improve. You might say, why do they need a coach? Why do the top 10 golfers all have coaches? Well, they're always trying to improve.
So what does make a good business leader? What would your top 3 tips, for example, be for anyone listening to this?
Well, I'm not an expert in all elements of leadership. I'm not a strategist. My expertise is leading people. And I teach people to ask for input. They get confidential feedback. They pick important stakeholders. They learn from their stakeholders. We develop a follow-up plan and actually measure improvement in leadership behavior.
How do you approach your sessions? What will people learn here today?
My session today is very practical. As I've grown older, I look at what I do not as graduate school, but as trade school. I teach people some very simple techniques that they can take back and use and achieve positive long-term change in behavior. So this is not like a motivational speech. I have very practical tools, and I have research from tens of thousands of people around the world that document it works.
Can you very briefly, without giving too much away, talk me through some of the tools that people might think about to be good leaders?
Well, I'm going to talk about 2 today. The first tool is increasing leadership effectiveness and building interpersonal skills. So I talk about how to ask for feedback, listen in a non-defensive way, learn from people, and then start measuring actual improvement. Then the second thing I'm going to discuss today is the topic of employee engagement. I'm doing some research with my daughter, Dr. Kelly Goldsmith. She's a professor of marketing at the Kellogg School of Northwestern. And Kelly and I have done some exciting new research, it's not even published yet, on employee engagement and how you can help yourself and others become more engaged at work.
Obviously, you've come over here very kindly today from the US to the UK. Do you notice that a big difference between leadership styles in those 2 countries?
Not a lot. I mean, working in the UK, I measure things. So the results of my process are as good here as they are in the US. They're almost identical to the US, in fact. Every culture has a couple of little quirks. In the UK, the one thing that people have to work on in terms of what I teach is they occasionally are a tad more cynical than people in the States. Just a little bit. Not much, of course, but people in London may just be a tad more sarcastic or cynical. And sometimes you need to put the kibosh on that, especially when you work in other cultures, because what works here may not translate so well around the world.